Good morning, sweet friends. So, we are in chapter 13 of Bat and the Waiting Game, and we are talking about remember, Bat had gone to a baseball game with his dad. And although I know I love to go to baseball games, and a lot of you love to go to baseball games, Bat does not like that. And if we think back to book one, the things we learned about Bat, that makes a lot of sense that he would not like going to a baseball game because he does not like loud noises. He doesn't like a lot of noises at the same time. He doesn't like bright lights. He doesn't like crowds. So a baseball game would be probably a very scary place for someone like him. By the seventh inning stretch, Bat's whole body felt twitchy from sitting. Dad loved the seventh inning stretch. He called it a fun tradition. Bat thought of the seventh inning stretch as the earliest possible opportunity to get Dad to leave a baseball game. If the score wasn't close, sometimes Bat could convince Dad to head home after everyone finished singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." The seventh inning stretch happened after one team had had its turn at bat, but before the other team came out to hit. All the players left the field and everyone in the stands got to get on their feet. The big screens lit up with the lyrics to the song, and the organ music began, playing loudly through the PA system. Then a little animated baseball bounced along over the words just in case anyone didn't know how the song went. Dad dropped his arm across Bat's shoulder and began to sway back and forth to the tune, swaying Bat along with him. "Take me out to the ball game," sang the crowd all around Bat. Down on the field, the mascot, a man in a giant bird costume, jumped around, waving his wings to encourage the crowd to sing louder. Do you guys know who the mascot is for our team? The Flying Squirrels. So it's Squirrely. Not Squirrely. Nutsy. I said Squirrely. His name's Nutsy. And we love going to see the baseball games at the Diamond. "If they don't win, it's a shame," boomed Dad. But Bat folded his arms across his chest and wished he had his earmuffs. At last, the song was over and everyone settled back into their seats. The score Bat saw on the big lighted scoreboard was 3-2. The home team was winning. There was no way Dad was going to want to leave. Still, it was worth a try. "If we go now, we could beat the traffic out of the parking lot," Bat said. "And miss the end? No way," Dad said. "Hey, do you want another hot dog?" Bat shook his head. He had already eaten 2 hot dogs and a bunch of popcorn, and he was feeling slightly sick. He slumped down in his seat, resigned to staying for the rest of the game. Dad straightened the baseball cap on Bat's head, which was an exact match to the cap Dad was wearing and which Dad had just given him that day. "You know, Sport, you could try a little harder to enjoy the things I'm interested in. It's a good talent learning to appreciate other people's interests." "Well," said Bat, "you don't try very hard to appreciate my interests. You haven't even met Thor, and he's the most interesting thing in my life." Dad didn't say anything for a while. The teams jogged back onto the field and took their positions. The fielding team threw the ball around to warm up. And then the batter came to home plate and the game started up again. Just when Bat thought that he maybe that Dad hadn't heard him at all, he said, "You know, Sport, you're right. I should have met that little fellow by now. I'm sorry it's taken me so long, but I'll tell you what. You let me tell you a few things about baseball and try your best to enjoy the rest of this game, and then tomorrow when I drop you off with your mom, we'll spend some time together with Thor. How does that sound?" Bat smiled. It sounded great. "Okay," Dad said as they settled back into their seats after a final visit to the concession stand. Though Bat had no more room for hot dogs, he found he could make a little space for some cotton candy. "Let me tell you a few things that I love about baseball games, starting with the most important part. The stats," Bat guessed. He knew how much Dad loved keeping track of player statistics, batting, pitching, fielding, base running. Dad had a whole stack of notebooks that he kept in the top drawer of his desk, dedicated to keeping track of statistics. Do you guys know that statistics are math? That's right. So when you go to a baseball game and they're talking about the players' stats, that's math. They have to add those things up and keep up with them and then multiply them out over the year, divide by the number of games that they've played, and that gives them another statistic. The stats are pretty great, Dad said, but it's not the stats that I like best. Is it the hats? Bat asked. Dad had a shelf in his closet where he kept his collection of baseball caps. He liked to wear the cap of whatever team he was cheering for whenever he was at a game or watching it on TV. It's not the hats, Dad said. The food? Nope. The crowds? No. The mascots. Dad laughed. It's not the mascots. I give up. What's your favorite thing about baseball? It's this, Dad said, relaxing in his seat and putting his arm around Bat's shoulders again. This right here, sitting next to someone I love, having a snack and something to drink, enjoying the outside air together, spending time together, just being with you. Bat could point out to Dad that they could do most of these things back at his apartment or at the park. It didn't have to be at a baseball game. Technically, Dad's argument was flawed. But instead of pointing this out, Bat paid attention to the pleasant warmth of the weight of Dad's arm across his shoulders. He pinched off some cotton candy and popped it into his mouth, enjoying the way it changed from fluff into melting sweetness. He looked out across the field, not trying to keep track of the players or the score. Instead, he tried to melt a little, like the cotton candy, and just be happy to be right there at the game with his dad. The moment was sweet, not quite as sweet as cotton candy, but pretty close. Chapter 14. Take my sticky note off of here. There we go. Yarrow and Sloke. At school on Monday, Bat and Israel got to use Mr. Grayson's computer to research the best vegetables for a skunk's diet. They found a website that had sample menus for skunks. It said that young skunks, once weaned from formula, should be fed 4 times per day and should get a mixture of vegetables, a protein like chicken or fish, some sort of grain or crushed up nuts, and occasionally some fruit for a treat. It sounds like a regular person diet, Israel said. Well, skunks are omnivores like people. Omnivores mean, and you should know this, that they eat both fruits and vegetables and proteins, which are meat. Bat wished the website had a list of vegetables that taste the best to skunks, but all it said was mixed vegetables, frozen or fresh. So what do you want to plant? Israel asked. I don't know. What are your favorite vegetables? I like avocados, Israel said. Avocados are fruit and they're from trees. You can't grow those in a garden box. Oh, Israel said. Hey, I have a great idea. Israel's idea was to make a survey for the class to take, asking everyone to write down their 5 favorite vegetables. Then we can figure out which vegetables are the most popular and we can plant those. Bat nodded. I like it. It's very scientific. See how they're cross-mixing like we do in class? They're learning about an animal. They're learning about the kind of foods that the animal eats. They're learning about how to plant a garden, and they're going to do a math sampling where they're going to graph the favorite vegetables of everyone in the class. So science and math mixed together. I love it. When they told Mr. Grayson Israel's idea, he said, you can use the copy machine in the office if you want. So Bat and Israel made a survey. Pick your 3 favorite vegetables from this list. Number them 1, 2, and 3. Asparagus, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, corn, kale, lettuce, spinach, squash. I like every one of those with the exception of asparagus. My husband loves it. I cannot stand it. Bat wanted to include every vegetable they found on the website that listed all the vegetables in alphabetical order, but Israel said, I don't think anyone in our class knows what yarrow or sloke even are. So Bat compromised on just the 10. Then they took the hall pass, which was on a flip-flop with walking pass written on the sole, and headed to the front office to make their copies. Well, hello, boys, Principal Martinez said. What can I do for you? Hi, Principal, said Israel. Mr. Grayson said we could use the copy machine. Look, we're doing a survey. He gave her the sheet they'd written up. I see, said Principal Martinez. Very interesting. Do you need me to show you how to work the machine? No, said Bat, I know how. My mom has a copy machine at her clinic that she sometimes lets me use. Okay, said the principal. Well, good luck with your survey. Thank you, said Israel, but Bat was already on his way to the machine. Bat, you should have said thank you, Israel whispered to him loudly as Bat entered 16, the number of students in their class, into the copy display. Do you think 16 copies is enough, Bat asked. Make it 18 just in case. Bat made it 18, and he and Israel stood next to each other and watched the identical copies of the survey emerge one by one from the machine. It was, Bat thought, very satisfying. Also, Bat loved the way a working copy machine smelled, hot and kind of rubbery and important. When the machine was done, Bat took the copies plus the original, tapped the papers into a neat stack, and said, There. I wonder what the winners will be, Israel said as they walked back to class. I hope kale is in the top 3, Bat said. Why? Do you like kale? Not really, but my mom says it's got a lot of vitamins in it, and I want Thor to be extra healthy. When they got back to the class, Mr. Grayson said, Okay, everyone, attention. We have a special activity. Bat, Israel, want to tell everyone about it? Bat opened his mouth to talk, but nothing came out. It was as if standing in front of the class with everyone staring at him, he had forgotten how to speak. Luckily, Israel remembered. Bat and I are going to plant a garden to grow food for Thor, the skunk Bat's raising, and we want everyone to vote on which vegetable we should plant. So everyone take a survey and mark your 3 favorite vegetables. Then he nudged Bat, who was holding the stack of surveys. Oh, that's my time, but I'm going to go ahead and finish real quickly because I've only got a little bit more. Then he nudged Bat, who was holding the stack of surveys. Jolted into movement, Bat passed them out. He even gave one to Mr. Grayson and one to Israel and kept one for himself. Back at his desk on his own survey, Bat numbered kale, broccoli, and corn as 1, 2, and 3. When everyone was done, he and Israel walked around the room and collected the surveys. Okay, said Mr. Grayson. When you've tallied all the results, let us know what the winning vegetables are. Then it was time for recess and everyone went outside. Bat stared down at the stack of surveys, smiling. They were really going to make a skunk garden. So delightful. I know a few of you have animals at home, and I will tell you this, dogs also like fresh vegetables. So you might want to research that online and see what kind of fresh vegetables and fruits would be good for you to give your animals at home. All right, guys, until next time, love you.